I thought it might be fun to talk today about budget. What? Fun? I actually call budget the four-letter word of planning. I mean, I know it has six letters, but while it's essential to any meaningful financial plan, we all know this, but when I talk about budgeting to just about anyone, I can almost hear the internal groan. Why not? When we think of a budget, we think of income, spending, savings, which leads us to all those uncomfortable questions of, am I saving enough? Am I spending too much? And all of that implies scarcity. And it brings on feelings of guilt and generally makes us feel lousy. Hi, I'm Sally Boyle, founder of S.J. Boyle Wealth Planning, a firm that works with families and individuals in preparing them for retirement 5 to 15 years out. Now, budgeting is good because the goal is to ensure that you don't spend more than you earn, which helps you save money, keeps you out of debt, and prepares you for an independent financial future. And all of those are laudable goals, but it doesn't seem to make us feel good. Why is it? First of all, it's a lot of work. It typically involves listing all of your sources of income, categorizing your expenses, rent, groceries, entertainment. And it always seems like that space for entertainment is smaller than all of the rest. Budgeting can provide a clear picture of your financial circumstances, helps you to track your spending, and can highlight areas where you can cut costs. And I think that's what we expect. Once we prepare a budget, it's going to lead to the word cut, that we're going to have to cut something. So we have a very emotional response to the word budget. For most folks, it is a dread, and we tend to delay anything that we dread. So many of us spend most of our lives avoiding that work. And it's not necessarily because the news is going to be bad, we just expect it to be bad. As a result, many of us avoid it. And that alone just doesn't make us feel good either. So emotions play a very big part in our financial lives, and recognizing the impact that emotions have on our financial success is important. Oh, you don't think so? Well, let's think about the last impulsive buy that you made. What happened immediately before that? Was it a bad day at work? Was your family driving you crazy? And so you just wanted to give yourself something to make yourself feel better, a little bit of comfort, right? Did you regret that later? Did you at some point ask yourself, did I really need this? Quite often we buy things that we really don't need because we buy them emotionally. And the same is true for, that nice warm cup of coffee before we go to work. We stop and we buy it. And is it because it eases the transition from home to work? Most probably. And how about your investments? When your investment account went down or your 401k went down in value, did you sell? Did you feel like selling? Was that an emotional decision that was triggered more by fear? All of those emotional decisions affect our finances, and they affect our success in our financial life. So what if we could harness these emotions to do good for our planning? What is it emotions could do to make us feel good about our spending? Not just feel good, but motivate us to spend in a way that is in our best interest. Motivate us in a way to encourage us to budget, and motivate us to have our spending serve ourselves and the best interests of our immediate world. Does that sound a little lofty? Well, enter the world of spending with intention or intentional spending. Spending with intention means that you're making conscious, deliberate choices about how you use your money and aligning your spending with your values and what's most important to you. And I emphasize the word most. Today, we have so many distractions, so many options, so many things available to us that it's quite often very difficult to even filter through what's most important to us. But the aim of intentional spending is to ensure that your spending reflects what is truly important to you. Rather than being driven by impulse or habit, emotion is a big part of both our impulsive and our habitual spending. And it can be a big part of our intentional spending as well. Spending with intention is not too different from budgeting. It involves the same process of looking at your income, regularly evaluating your purchases, and seeing what's net, what's left over. But you also consider the why of your spending, and you prioritize only those expenses that bring you joy or support your goals, and you eliminate all the rest. The result? Spending with intention can be more fulfilling. Your financial decisions are aligned with your personal values and your aspirations, and you log these first, your intentions, your values, and your aspirations, and then you look at your spending second. Do some things not fit? If you understand that they don't fit, then it's easier to eliminate them. The cuts are easier. In other words, it's how your spending makes you feel. There is satisfaction and joy when you bring your spending to a conscious level and align it with those things that are most important to your goals. And therein lies the motivation to budget with intentional spending. So let's take a moment and compare these two processes. Budgeting is more about managing overall finances and ensuring that you live within your means. That's what we think about budgeting. We spend less than we make. Spending with intention looks very much the same. We pay attention to our income, we look at our outgoing, but we also weigh our spending choices and what's important. Not in someone else's eyes, but only in your eyes. And keeping up with the Joneses in intentional spending is gone. Comparing yourself with your neighbors is gone. Did they get a new car? Did they get a new boat? Did they buy a new plane? Is any of that important to you? No. But I'd tell you that 3-week vacation in Europe is important to me. So as opposed to the car, boats, and planes, your spending, your priority is to make sure that you can get to Europe for 3 weeks. Now, the result might be the same, and it should be, making sure that your expenses fall within your income. But the difference is that your spending, is more focused on your priorities. So let's talk about the process. How do we combine these two? How do we combine budgeting? How do we combine spending with intention, intentional spending? Well, first, you might recall where you maybe have been in your spending habits in the past. Have you ever had that moment where you were disappointed because you didn't have the money to take that trip or buy that gift for someone that was important to you, or to give a donation to charity, a charity that you love? Well, what was your response? Did you put that trip on a credit card? Or did you pull from your long-term savings, your retirement accounts, or worse, your emergency funds? And how did you feel about that later? How did you feel about when you had to pay that credit card off? How did you feel about not having your emergency savings? Maybe you skipped the gift. Maybe you just didn't give to the charity that you love, and you hope that somebody else would support it. Now that we think about what's important to us, let's take a moment and just review one credit card statement, 1 month. Let's review one bank statement. And just for 1 month, can we see what we spent? And what do we see? When we look at where our money is going and we compare it to what's most important, that trip, that gift, that charitable donation, do our current expenditures stack up? Do they measure up? Are they more important? Are they the most important? Remember that word I used, most important. Or are they just habitual spending? We're just spending out of habit. We're just going and getting that cup of coffee because that's what we do. Are they habitual spending that could be discarded with very little emotion? For example, we go out to dinner every Friday. It's been a long week. We get with our friends. The dinner's delicious and it feels good. But when we compare it to what's most important to us, is it the most important? And if not, how can you give it up without feeling bad? How can you give it up without feeling neglected? Maybe a potluck with friends, maybe have them at your house. Everyone brings their dinner and or their portion of the dinner and enjoy it. Maybe you cook in with your family. You make it a dinner that everyone's really going to enjoy to cook together. So this is where we start. We start by blending the planning, and we start with our intentions first. We reflect on what's important to us, and we ultimately end up paying attention to our expenses and comparing them to our priorities. Add the emotions by asking yourself, when was the last time an expenditure truly brought me joy? Any of these expenditures that I'm seeing in my credit card statement, my bank statement. When have you thought, ah, I was so happy I did this? What did you do? What were you doing? Where were you? Who were you with? What gave you joy? This points to your values and it points to what's important to you. List a lot of them. List all of the most joyful moments for you, and they will give you some guidance as to where your priorities are. Now, not everything is going to give you joy. Paying a mortgage is not joyful. Paying your electric bill is not joyful. But your home is. And so you know that those expenditures support a home that gives you a lot of joy and warmth for your family. Or it may cause you to rethink your home as a priority. For those of you approaching retirement, you may say, this home gave me a lot of joy, but so will downsizing. And that's okay too. Now comes the place where you're taking a look at where your money is going. And are some of the things that you are looking at comparing favorably with the joyful expenditures, or are they good for the chopping block? That's okay, because what is left over will make you feel good. Your expenditures will make you feel good. And spending that is driven by what is important to you feels good. And as a result, you might experience a very different emotional response to not only your expenditures, but to actually planning those expenditures, your budgeting, so to speak. And you begin to feel good about reallocating that Friday dinner to your future vacation. You feel good about reallocating that cup of coffee to your charitable cause. And you may also feel good about cooking at home for yourself and for your friends. The new habits might just feel great. So what happens is your awareness changes with regard to your spending. You may even find yourself pausing before you buy something. You may ask yourself if it is that important. Does it align with these 3 things that are most important to me? Taking a vacation, giving to my charity, buying this gift. You might establish a rule of waiting for 24 hours before you buy anything that's non-essential. You might even begin to differentiate between what you need and what you want, focusing on fulfilling your needs first. You might begin to eliminate impulse buying and those triggers that lead you to impulse buying. You may unsubscribe from marketing emails. You may avoid browsing online stores. And you may limit visits to places where you know you overspend. If you have had credit card debt in the past, you might leave them behind. And you may begin to start buying with cash. Again, to make you more intentional around your spending. And of course, over time, your relationship with money will change, even your relationship to planning and budgeting. You'll have monthly check-ins that will be less painful. You'll review your spending plan and adjust and feel that as less painful. And over time, your priorities will change. And you will learn what's important yesterday is no longer important today. What is most important for you is to celebrate your successes in this planning and to learn from your setbacks. And if you find the whole process difficult, find an accountability partner. Find a friend who shares this goal with you, in the desire to improve their spending by making it more intentional, or simply seek some financial advice from an expert who may be helpful in this area. But the goal really is to make your spending serve you and what's most important to you and to you alone, so that when you do your budgeting, your budget, it will feel far less painful. In fact, it will be motivated by your intentions and your priorities. Happy planning.